we are doing my best general fiction of the year list. Now, everything that I put on here are things that don't neatly sort into another genre or are not considered to be nonfiction. So we've got historical fiction, contemporary literary fiction, general contemporary fiction, and classics. Those all kind of go into this category. And this year, I did not have a full top 10. That was true also last year, but I felt like I still wanted to do this list because I had some really, really good books that I read as a part of general fiction. Like Kylie Jenner once said, this was the year of realizing stuff about me as a general fiction reader or a literary fiction reader. I did a video at the beginning of the year specifically saying like, do I even still like literary fiction? And I think where I've landed is that when I like literary fiction, I really like it. And I do still really enjoy classics, but I have a lot more things that I don't enjoy now in this area than I do things that I still enjoy. And I will say that I had a lot of disappointments that ended up being literary because a lot of times I got like a fake out where I was expecting a genre book and I ended up getting literary fiction, and that disappointed me. But anyway, all that to say, I narrowed it down to a top 6 and I was like, oh, I need to do a top 5. Who cares? I make the rules. So we're gonna go with my top 2 4-star literary fiction picks, my 3 4.5-star picks, and my 1 5-star. And for me, a 4 is like an A-, a 4.5 is an A and a best of the year, and a 5 is an A+ and an all-time favorite. So I had a couple of 4s I wanted to talk about. These are the 2 that could be 5 or 6. I like them just about the same. So first of all, The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. This is a historical literary mystery that actually ends up being a lot about theology and philosophy. And I am shocked that this was a bestseller, guys, because this was very nerdy and up my alley because like I have a master's in the study of religion, and it was also sort of an isolated closed circle mystery, which is my favorite mystery trope. So there was a lot here that was for Mara. Like this was a very me book, but this was a bestseller when it came out, and that shocks me. This is also very meta, which is something that I enjoy, and it's basically about a murder that takes place in a medieval monastery, and they have to try to figure out who done it, but it's a very overt pastiche of some of the mystery tropes. And like I said, it's a lot about philosophy, particularly Thomas Aquinas. So yeah, I'm surprised other people like this one so much, but I also really enjoyed it. And I do need to make time to see the Sean Connery adaptation because I've heard that's also great. And the other one that was kind of interchangeable in terms of my level of enjoyment was We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Barry. This is a bizarre book that is so funny to me. The humor in this really works for me. It's not gonna work for everyone. And Quan Barry is a poet, so the writing itself I also find really lovely and well observed. It takes place in a first-person plural point of view, so it's all of these girls on this field hockey team in Massachusetts in the 1980s, and they are a collective we who sells their soul to the devil-ish to try to be better at field hockey. There's a anthropomorphized gigantic 80s curl that I thought was very funny. This just goes in some wacky places. It got a little slow towards the end, which is why I didn't give it a 4.5, but I think very fondly of this book. This was a lot of fun to read and won't work for everyone, but ended up really working for me. I also read another book, by the way, by this author this year, and I didn't like it as much, but it was still very good. So I definitely recommend Quan Barry in general. So now getting into 4.5-star territory, I'm gonna say number 4 is S by Doug Dorst, pretty much, but J.J. Abrams was sort of the, let's say like the idea man behind the execution of this. I have an entire vlog of me reading this. It's very hard to describe what this is. I would actually tend to think of this less as a book and more as an experience, as a game, because it's a book within a book within a book. It has all of this marginalia on it, and I'm loath to take it out of this thing because there's all these little, like just the manufacturing of this is astonishing, but it has all of these like things that are inserted in the pages, and then you can see all of this marginalia. And basically the main text is The Ship of Thebes by V.M. Straka. V.M. Straka is like this mystery figure in this world who is sort of like a thing of legends. And the marginalia are between two students in this university, one of whom is doing their like master's thesis on this, and the other of whom is a senior, either master's thesis or a PhD program. I can't remember. The other person is a senior. And there's like a conspiracy because the dude who's doing his thesis on the ship of Theseus, oh, I just realized maybe that's another layer there, is maybe got closer to figuring out who VM Straka is than anyone else has, and maybe people are like trying to kill him. And it's like I said, there's all of these puzzles. There's literally entire blogs dedicated to dissecting all of the clues. This is something I did an initial reading, so I call this done, but I think it's very hard to be done because literally everything has layers to it and clues in it. And so I would approach this more like a puzzle and a experience than just a book, but it's multimedia. It's really fun. It's really engaging. And I think that if you like that idea, this is a really, really well executed version of that kind of puzzle, like literary puzzle book situation. So like I said, I'm not doing a very good job describing this, but I love this as an experience. This is one of my favorite reading experiences of the year. Even if the actual VM Straka book is not the best, it was still interesting, and all of the marginalia was very interesting. So yeah, I guess I read this. I think I said at the time, like, I don't know how you ever really consider yourself to have fully read this book, but I guess I did. Then I would say Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope. So this is the second book in the Barchester Chronicles. And again, this is another one that I'm shocked other people like because this is so nerdy and so me. I love the history of Victorian Church of England politics. When I was a TA in grad school, I was teaching the history of the Christian church, and that was always one of my favorite sections to teach, was talking about all of the drama and all of the different variations of the high church and the low church in the Church of England. And this just is it's very approachable, I should say. This is Anthony Trollope is now someone I would point, a person who's intimidated by classic Victorian literature. I would point you towards him because his prose is very readable. He also is meta, so he like turns and talks to the audience a lot of like, don't worry, this is what's gonna happen. And basically this is a story of church politics, of Mrs. Prouty and Bishop Prouty, Obadiah Slope, who is just the worst, against all of the higher church people like Mr. Hardy and the Grantleys and Elizabeth Bold. It just was great. I love this. I thought that this was such an interesting book of its time as a historical document. I love this, and I can't wait to keep going in the series. So I hope there's more church nerdery ahead of me because that is what I am loving about the series so far. And then I would say my top 4.5-star book is Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. I have given both collections I have read from Ted Chiang 4.5 stars because they are some of the best short story collections I've read. It's hard to give a short story collection 5 stars, so we're about to say 1, because there's usually there's some level of variation, right? And you're gonna like some stories more than others. I don't think there were any of these I disliked. I would say my favorites, or the ones that are most memorable to me, are the one that has the person whose IQ is increasing, and just the way that was told I thought was really exciting. And then this has one of my new all-time favorite short stories, which is Hell is the Absence of God. I thought that one was fantastic and very impactful. So this one is borderline 5 stars because it is one of my favorite collections I've read. But I think what separates this from the one that I did give 5 stars is that I'm not sure this has an unifying theme or perspective to it, where you leave feeling like, okay, there was a clear overall idea here that the author communicated through these stories, but each of the stories on their own are very strong. Definitely highly recommend to people who are sci-fi readers looking to get into literary fiction or short stories, or if you're into literary fiction and short stories and you're looking to get into sci-fi, I think that this is like a good bridging book. And then my 5-star, which is also a short story collection, is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. And like I said, I think what makes this a full 5-star for me is that this overall has such a theme around feminism, bodily autonomy, and just the woman slash femme human condition. The husband stitch is incredibly memorable. I really liked Inventory. Like, I liked all of these. Probably the one I liked the least was either The Resident or Difficult at Parties, but I still liked both of those. 8 Bites I thought was fantastic. And then especially Heinous, I know some people are not gonna like, well, some people have told me that they don't like especially Heinous because it's basically these really absurdist and kind of wild summaries of Law and Order SVU episodes. So I get that some people just don't like that, and it's experimental, but it really worked for me, and I am somebody who really enjoys experimental short stories. So this delivered to me thematically, this delivered to me on the writing. I was entertained by all of these stories, so just like an enjoyment factor was there. And then I think just the extra mwah is the fact that it had some experimental short stories, which is something I particularly really love. So I would say this is one of my all-time favorite short story collections, and I just absolutely love this. Many people do. If you like some of the experimental stuff, people tend to really like this. And so I am certainly not unique in liking this. Hello, it's a National Book Award winner, or I guess it's a finalist. But yeah, I thought this was absolutely fantastic. One of the best short story collections I've ever read. So that was my best of literary slash historical slash general fiction for 2022. Like I said, I feel like this was a year where I learned my own taste a little bit more, which was good. And I think that this in some ways has reinvigorated me to just lean into picking up the literary fiction I do like and the historical fiction I do like without feeling pressure to read, or like feeling, I guess, should-isms about that kind of fiction, that I should be reading more like serious fiction. I think I like what I like, and I'm edified by it when I choose to pick up what I like, and that's okay. So that was my realization of the year. Yeah, let me know what you thought about any of the books I mentioned, or what some of your favorite general fiction books that you read in 2022 are, and I think that will do it for me. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon.